If I could only figure out how to get my team motivated.
We are never going to get this project done on time.
Oh my God, my payroll numbers are insane. Why are we having all this overtime?
Do you have these or similar employee problems? Do you feel like some of your employees are just there for a paycheck? Tired of recruiting, interviewing, onboarding, and training just to find out you must do it all over again? Then it's time for you to find out how to have outrageously awesome employees. Sit back, buckle up, and get ready because we're about to drop a knowledge bomb on you. Please welcome to the mic the host of the show, the man who puts the human in human resources, the 007 of team building, the emperor of employee engagement, Randy Starr.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of How to Have Outrageously Awesome Employees. Today, we have a special guest, Tiara Hicks. Tiara is a Director of Human Resources for ENERDEL. Tiara, how are you today?
I am good, thanks.
She's doing awesome. Don't let her fool you. Hey, tell us, we like to start these things with you letting everybody know who's listening a little bit about you, what you do, what you've done, and your current positions you've held in the past. So if you don't mind getting us kicked off, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So started my HR career in 2007 when I graduated college with that shiny new degree in business management. I started out and I worked for two guys that owned 4 companies. They were a construction company that installed fiber optics and cable. And I came on board as their office manager, and they just let me be in charge of everything from billing, accounting, human resources, filing, you name it. If it was within the 4 walls, it was my territory. And while I was working with them, I decided to go back to school and get my MBA. And for my MBA program, I had to choose a focus, and human resources was one of those options. So I looked at the job I had and I said, okay, what do I love the most about what I do? And I realized it was my people and my people interaction. So I decided to focus in human resources. And then I knew I needed to get a job in human resources if I was going to make this career take off. So then I went from construction to apartments. They owned and also built construction community or apartment communities in Lafayette, Indiana. And their niche market was building, it was Trinitas Ventures, and they built luxury student housing. So they took it all over, multi-state, they would build it, we would staff it, we would fill it up with tenants, and then we would sell the properties off. Did that for a few years and wanted to relocate my family closer to home where I was raised, so moved. And with that, I started another industry, and I started working in the property preservation industry as a director of human resources for a group. Did that for a little while, and then I went into restaurants and was a director of human resources for a restaurant management company that owned franchises in Texas Roadhouse and Little Caesars Pizza. Then they own their own restaurant concept, Aspen Creek. Did the restaurant world for a few years, and then I had the opportunity to transition into a completely different HR opportunity, which was field human resources. So I joined Aspen Dental. I had 6 states and 103 dental practices.
Wow.
And I was basically a consultant for the dentist because the dentists were in partnership with Aspen. So Aspen provided all of the facilities and resources, and I was a consultant to those dentists that were partners with Aspen Dental. So I did that, traveling. It wore me down. After a couple of years, it was no longer fun. When a Holiday Inn starts to smell like home, you know that you're in trouble.
I know, right?
So I recently made the transition to ENERDEL, and again, Director of Human Resources, and they make lithium-ion batteries. My niche has always been coming into an organization that was ramping up for growth. They either had little or a non-existent HR department, and I come in, I take an assessment of what they have, what tools, what resources they have available, and I revamp and prepare them for the growth that they want to eventually accomplish from a people standpoint.
Wow. That is quite a career since 2007.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yep.
So did you say luxury student housing?
Luxury student housing. Yeah.
Wow. I don't think
Yes.
I ever saw any of that. That's great, though. So, what would you say it is about human resources that you found interesting enough to continue working in the field? You mentioned it was the people part, but what exactly was it that made you keep working in HR?
Yeah, so at the end of the day, I feel most accomplished when I'm able to do something that not only benefits the organization, but benefits the employees who work there. So when I mentioned my first job, when I decided to leave there to pursue a career in human resources, one of my construction guys came up to me and said, "Who's going to care about us now that you're leaving? You're the only one who cared." And I realized that in a lot of organizations, unfortunately, that's how the team members feel. They feel like no one cares about them. And so I've always came into an organization and made it a priority to make my people and to teach leaders how to also make their people feel like they care and that they're human and that they're listening to them. And obviously there's lots of benefits to implementing that within your organization.
Tiara, why do you think that is? Why do you think that so many organizations, the employees feel? I mean, we know that's probably not true. I mean, it's
right.
I mean, it's a weird situation. The employees feel like you were the only one who cared. Who's going to care for me now? The other people cared for them, but not in the fashion that you did. So why is it so many organizations have that issue? Do you know?
I think it's because for me, caring for them was my number one priority. It was the thing that I got up and went to work for every single day. And as leaders within the organization in charge of other departments, they care about their people, but their priority list is rearranged in a different manner. You know,
Right.
they've got a report to do, they've got a presentation to prepare for.
Right.
And the fact that they have somebody that they're leading that's on their team that happens to be having a bad day or, you know, is challenged in their own role, they're not taking a step back and looking at this and realizing that if they can help that person get through this challenge, they're going to ultimately benefit because that person's going to, you know, be dedicated and put all of that time and effort into moving the bus forward.
Yeah.
So I think that that's a big piece of it. We just have so much on our plates now that the priority has fallen to the wayside.
I agree 100%. 100%. And I hate to get off topic, but I got to ask one more question in that. Do you think that they can? I mean, the people who have the presentations, who have the other priorities, do you think they can do both or no?
Yes. I think that they absolutely can. And I hope that after working with their other HR professionals, you know, I hope that if you were to go back and talk to the people that I've previously worked with, that would be one of their takeaways after working with me, that's really what I helped to coach them through. I just walked up to a coworker who started 5 weeks ago when I did, and he's a director over a department. He has 13 direct reports. And I said to him, "Tell me somebody new that you talked to this week." And he pauses and he's like, "Oh, I knew you were going to do this." And he names a guy and he was like, "I talked to him." And I said, "Okay, now tell me something about him that I wouldn't be able to find on his resume." And he just gives me this look and he's like, "I'm trying. I really am." You know, so I make it a point to work with new leaders to make sure from the get-go they're able to set up their structure so that they make time for this. So one thing that he's doing is he's setting up one-on-ones with each one of them one time a month for a minimum of 30 minutes. And he's going to be very focused on getting to know those individuals. And so I think without having people remind them that this is important and coaching him to be that type of leader, No, I don't think it happens. I think you have to be very intentional about it.
So you teach and train employees and teach and train leaders as well.
Absolutely. I feel like that's the majority of my position.
That's awesome. Okay. Tell me a story about one of your greatest accomplishments to date in HR.
So I would have to say it hasn't happened yet. I constantly raise the bar for myself personally and professionally, and I want to always improve. Even if it's something that I did in a past organization and I bring it to the new one, I'm changing it, I'm revamping it, I'm learning from those past mistakes. So I don't think that I've done it yet. I think that that's what I'm chasing, and I think that that's part of what drives and motivates me to keep doing what I'm doing is to try to get there. You know, my ultimate goal in the end is to leave a legacy, and so I would say I haven't done that accomplishment yet.
First time we've got that answer. That's awesome. Seriously. I mean, I would agree. I think everybody has made, you've made great accomplishments, but your greatest one hasn't happened yet because you continue to grow. Everybody hopefully continues to grow and try to get better. So you accomplish something today. Hopefully next month when you have another breakthrough, you're going to have a better accomplishment. So great answer. Tell us what you do to help your employees grow.
I am honest. I always tell them like it is, and I'm considerate of their feelings, and I treat them as definitely, you know, I show empathy when it's needed, but I'm very honest and direct in my delivery. I always tell them that I'm not here just to identify their issues. I'm here to help them solve the problem.
Right.
So if I go out and do some one-on-one coaching with a manager and I identify the fact that, you know, he's not developing his people and he's not spending enough time with them, I'm not just going to leave him with, well, you really need to work on that. I'm going to leave him with, what's the plan and how do you want to accomplish getting to know your people better? So I think that that's one thing that has always made me a valuable business partner, in the fact that I'm not just here to point out your mistakes or to say gotchas. It's to work with them to come up with those solutions.
That's awesome. I've always thought it was important to be honest and direct.
Mm-hmm.
I will admit, though, that I had issues early on in my career in hospitality with the direct part.
Mm-hmm.
I think I had a boss once who told me, Randy, you are missing opportunities. What did he say? You're missing opportunities to be tactful or something like that. I don't remember. It's like, it all stemmed around I was in a big meeting. There was probably 25 people, and he was leading the meeting, and he asked the group a question, and I answered the question honestly.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't like the answer. And then he'll never forget me, though. Still to this day, he's like,
that's right.
And when he entered, I met him. I saw him like, I don't know, probably 10 years ago, but it had been years since we'd seen each other. We were at a big convention, and he introduced me to a couple of people. He goes, this is the guy that I told you about, that when I asked the question in a meeting, he said this. And it was basically, he said, I want you guys to tell me what you think about my meetings. And I told him I thought they sucked because they did. They were bad. I mean, he goes, well, can you elaborate? I said, yeah, 95% of this stuff. Now, this is dating when this took place. I said, 95% of this stuff you could have faxed us. You know, why are we sitting here talking about, why are we sitting in a group reading paper? You know, we could have read that back in our offices. So it didn't go over good, but I agree with you 100%. You tell it like it is. You're honest with people. You're direct. I think when you're direct, they understand what you're saying. When we try to beat around the bush, or we try to maybe lessen the pain of the message, It doesn't come across the way it should. They might not understand. So if you say you did this wrong, let's solve this problem, then I think you're way more effective.
Right. The old sandwich method where we love on you a little, then we smack you, then we love on you at the end.
Yeah, exactly. Little bread, little meat, little bread. Okay, so tell us about a time when you helped an employee overcome a challenge.
Yeah, so when I got your list of questions, there is what I think I've accomplished in my mind or how I believe I've helped, but what I wanted to do was get some perspective from somebody that I had actually worked with. So I reached out to a director at my previous job at Aspen Dental, and he was a challenging director. He constantly challenged me, and it was in a good way, and it was productive. And he became somebody that I became my go-to. Hey, I got an idea. Let me bounce it off of you, pick it apart, throw it at me, what do you got? And we could move forward with it. There was never hurt feelings because we both knew we were being tough on one another and to grow and to benefit from that. So I reached out to him and I said, okay, tell me what I did to help you or your team in overcoming challenges. And he gave me the best analogy ever. And I absolutely love it. I think I'm going to cherish it from this point forward. He said, the analogy that I would use to describe you and how you helped me and my team is you were like a lighthouse. In the middle of the storm, the crazy, and all that was going on, no matter what was happening, we knew we could come to you. You would walk us through the situation, and we would be reassured. You would build confidence that we could handle it and get through it. And you helped us work out the solution to solving that problem. That's great. I'm like, oh, a lighthouse.
I know, right?
That's awesome.
Now you have to move to the coast.
Right. I got to get out of Indiana for that.
That's awesome. What a great way to look at that.
Mm-hmm.
Very good compliment.
He's full of analogies. I know. It's probably the sweetest thing he's ever said to me or about me.
That's awesome. That's very good, lighthouse. And that's, but if you think about it, that's what HR is.
Mm-hmm.
You've got so much chaos and so much noise out there at work with everything that's going on and everything that's supposed to be going on and things that people want to get accomplished. And you have to be the one who has the guidance. You have to be the one that says, nope, don't come over here because this isn't where you want to be. You want to go over there.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, we were the bumper rails.
Yep. Very good. Very good. Okay. So I know you've not been at ENERDEL very long.
Mm-hmm.
So this is kind of a general question. What type of training do you feel is important for your employees?
Yeah. So with every organization that I've joined, I've always been that foundation HR and kind of setting it up. And what I've found that most leaders are lacking that they need to really kick themselves into gear is that self-awareness piece. So I always try to implement some type of assessment, whether it's predictive index, the DISC, what motivates me, the color code. And I always implement it first with a higher level management team so that they begin to build some self-awareness. How do they show up? What triggers them? What are their natural responses? How do they like to learn? Because I feel like a leader who truly knows themselves and understands how they're wired then is better at interacting and reacting to situations with their employees. So we start at the high level. We teach you all about you. You get a foundation and a good sense of self-awareness. And then we introduce those same assessments to your team. And I always treat it as a peek under the hood. How much better are you going to be at managing someone or even having a conversation with them, if you get kind of the guidebook, here's how I like information, here's how I'm predicted to, react. I feel like a big piece of it is self-awareness from the employee standpoint to the leader standpoint. And once they get that foundation and understanding, it irons out the communication issues. It irons out the training frustrations. It just seems to be a much smoother course. So that's where I always like to start.
That's a great place to start, especially with.
And who doesn't want to learn about themselves? Yeah.
I mean, that's everybody's most important topic, themselves.
Right.
That's number one. You're you.
Yeah.
You want to talk about you.
So I feel like I get them engaged with it. I get them buying into it. They understand that there's the value in the training that I'm bringing to the table.
Right.
And then it's a smoother transition when I say, okay, let's talk about giving feedback. And I'm going to introduce you to the SDI method. And, I've built credibility with them. And then I also understand how they're wired. And so then I adapt my training from that point forward into their learning style.
Very good.
As much as possible.
Yeah. And then filtering that down through the organization, that just puts pretty much everybody on the same page. Everybody.
Yep.
Yeah. That's awesome. Okay.
Creates transparency.
Well, yeah, that's something else too. Transparency. Why do we hide stuff or try to hide it? I never could figure that out either. What do you think makes an employee outrageously awesome?
I think there's a lot that, I pondered several options when I'm asking myself this question and preparing for this. So what I ended up with is I think it's their willingness to continue to learn. I'm a big educator. I believe that, nothing stays the same. We've got to continue to evolve if we want to be able to keep up. And having that right attitude and that willingness to learn makes them so valuable to themselves as well as any organization that they join.
I agree. I agree. I mean, people who are willing to learn or want to learn, who want to grow, that's one of the, I can't say it's one of the top issues that we see, but it has been growing as an issue over the past probably 3 to 5 years, is the growth and development piece. We've always seen, communication, training, respect, those three, along with fairness and recognition. Those 5 areas are always in any organization, regardless of size, geographic, or industry. We always see those 5, but along with that, the growth and development has been popping its head up quite a bit. And it's like, I've always wondered why organizations won't. We in hospitality, we always did what we called cross training. So we would teach, a housekeeper how to work the front desk, or a front desk person how to clean a room, or how to do multiple tasks, and they loved it. I loved it because I started as an hourly part-time front desk clerk, and then they trained me how to work in banquets. I thought, oh, this is cool. I can pick up some extra money on days that I don't have to work at the front desk. I can come over here and be a server for a banquet and make extra money. Plus, it's pretty cool because it was fun. And then they teach you how to do this and do that. So that made me feel good about myself, and that made me a valuable asset to the hotel, because if I'm at the front desk and somebody called off for whatever reason and they can spare me at the desk because they're staffed well enough, I can go work over there. I mean, it just kind of makes sense to me.
Right.
But yeah.
When I was with Little Caesars, I thought they had an amazing training program for their hourly associates. You started off making dough. That was just the entry level position.
Right.
And they had a board, and you got a little toga guy, and you put your name on it. And
Right.
as you learned each station, you got a bump in pay, and you got to move your little man around the board to show that you had completed that training.
That's
and
great.
in the end, you maybe ended up with 50 more cents, but you had an employee that no matter who called off that day could work every station in that restaurant.
Right. See, and that's great. They kind of
Still
gamified
worth it.
Yeah, they gamified it way back before that was even popular.
Yeah.
That's great. What a great concept. Let's teach people how to do their job, and let's teach them how to do their job over here, and then they'll be happy. Golly.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well. Okay, this last question. This is not for me. This is for someone who, let's say they're thinking about getting into HR. They may be going to school for HR, or they've just got a new job and they're in HR. What kind of words of wisdom would you give them to help them become successful?
So I would say figure out your path. Figure out whether it's benefits, employee relations, recruiting, what it is that ticks. What do you enjoy doing the most? And choose that path and then focus on it. And for me, it was doing a little bit of everything because I'm just wired that way. If you wanted me to come in and do the same thing every single day, that would drive me insane. I want to know a little bit about a lot. So a generalist was the perfect path for me. And there's been times when, I'm unhappy in my position and I'm looking for a new one. And I ask myself, gosh, should I specialize? Should I be a recruiter? Should I do just benefits, a piece and a part? So I'm always, when I'm true to myself and I'm a generalist at heart, and when I stick on that path, that's when I get the most satisfaction. So I would say figure out what path you want to be on, and then just be true to yourself. Continue to develop, check out your resources, build your network, find out how others have done it. How have they successfully walked down the same path that you want to walk down? And then do it. You don't have to learn everything the hard way. I feel like I did. I didn't have a good network. I didn't have resources. I had to just kind of hit my head against the wall, figure out I didn't like it, turn around and head the other direction. And it doesn't have to be that hard, because I think that, with social networking and LinkedIn and even Facebook groups, you are able to meet with like minds and pick their brain. So I would say be true to the path that you enjoy the most, and then find the resources to guide your way.
Awesome. That's great. And so true. I mean, there's so many different, when you say HR, it is a pretty large tent. So it's good that you mentioned that. Break it down, because like you said, some people would get bored stiff if they had to do the same thing day in and day out. So yeah, very good stuff. Tiara, this has been awesome. What a great time this has been. So many awesome tips and knowledge dropped from you. This is awesome. So is there anything else you want to add before we conclude this episode?
I don't. That's
Okay.
it. That's all I got.
She's drained. Yay, we did a good job. Okay, guys, those of you who are watching for the first time and you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button. That way we can update you when we publish a new episode. Hope everybody has a great weekend, and bye for now.
Thanks for hanging out with us. Please feel free to contact Randy with any questions about team building or employee engagement issues. Subscribe to this channel so you'll be notified when new episodes are published.